Welcome back into another basketball preview video as we take a look at the area teams and what I think they're going to be able to do this upcoming basketball season. And if this is your first video that you've seen of the previews, we have done a number of other ones taking a look at other schools around the area. You can find those on my Twitter page, Taylor from Kway, Taylor from Kway is where you will find me over on Twitter. And you can find the videos here on YouTube as well. So with that, let's take a look at, the team we're taking a look at in this one, and it will be the Sumner Fredericksburg girls. And this is one of the ones, one of the previews that I was most looking forward to because this is a very, very good Sumner Fredericksburg team. I'm very excited about what they can do this season. I honestly think that they are one of the best girls teams in the area, no doubt about it. I'm, again, very excited to see what they can do this season. But before we get into all of that, I do want to remind you of what they did last year, because last year was impressive as well. They went 20-3, a 20-win team. You don't see those a whole heck of a lot. 20 wins, just 3 losses, and their only 2 regular season losses both came to Dyke New Hartford. So they lost 3 games to just 2 different teams. They did lose to Bellevue to end things last year in a super tight game. 42-40 was the final there. Sumner Fred averaged 57.4 points a game, and they certainly had the ability to go score the rock. They ran the game at their pace, which was a key. They didn't get going too quickly. They didn't get out of their system and going too quickly very often. They didn't get slowed down. They have a pace, and they were very good at managing that pace throughout the season last year, and that's a big key for this Sumner Fred team. And I think it'll be the case again this year. I think they're going to be very successful at controlling the pace of the game. They assist-to-turnover ratio, extremely close, almost 1-to-1. They had 10 more turnovers than assists. That's huge. That's fantastic. That's good. Anytime you can get that at 1-to-1, obviously you'd love it in favor of the assist, but anytime you can get it about 1-to-1, you're doing something right, and they certainly were last year. They also averaged 38.3 rebounds a game. They were dominant on the glass, absolutely dominant. That is a huge feather in their cap for sure, and a huge piece of success that they'll be looking to replicate this season as well. You look at the scoring per quarter, and they scored 100 less points in the fourth, and you might be thinking, boy, they're not very good in crunch time, but that's not the case at all. They had just put teams away by that point often, very, very often. And so a lot of times they had subs in at that juncture, and they just didn't score as many points as the starters would, and then that's exactly what you would expect. If they were not that case, you would be questioning the coach immediately about who was starting in your games. And so, the fact that they scored less tells you straight off the bat, scored less in the fourth quarter, tells you straight off the bat that this was a very, very good team and one that put teams away early and often. They averaged beating teams by 20 points, 2-0, 20 points. I mean, you take the point differential, you spread it over the entirety of the season, and they were beating teams on average by 20 points. Unbelievable. Sumner Fredericksburg had a great season last year, 20-3. The one dark spot, the one sort of black spot on that resume from last year, they did not get to state. They did not go nearly as far as maybe they thought that they would. And so I would imagine that's probably going to be the focus this year in getting to where they want to get. Now let's take a look at this roster. There were a couple of big-time pieces that they lose. They lose Jenna Brandt. Now, stat-wise, Jenna Brandt, on the basketball court, didn't necessarily do a ton. The stats aren't going to blow you away by any stretch. She averaged 5.1 points a game. She averaged 24, and she didn't average 24 assists. She had 24 assists in the game, which is about 1 a game. She didn't have 23 blocks on the season, which is a pretty solid number. She also averaged 6 rebounds a game. Good numbers, but not great. But she was an absolute lockdown defender, a great defender, an incredible athlete. Obviously, she's gone to Iowa State to play volleyball, a great volleyball player, and a fantastic defender on the basketball court. They lose her, and so that's going to play a role. They're going to have to address that loss, no doubt about it. The other big name player that they lose is Creighton Allen. An unbelievable high school career, not just in basketball, but she had a great high school career. She was a great athlete at Sumner Fredericksburg. She really, really was. And I know that basketball was a sport that she really, really excelled in. She actually did not have a very good season. By her standards, she did not have a very good season last year. And I know when I sort of was seeing that going on, I felt terrible for her because she works hard at the sport of basketball. There's no doubt about it. She just couldn't quite get things going. And, I mean, she still had, you look at the numbers and you're like, boy, those are nice numbers. But they're not Creighton Allen numbers. And she, she is a player that I think probably was frustrated by the way that her season went last year. But just looking at this year, I think the fact that Creighton had a poor season last year, I think it's a blessing in disguise for this team this year, because the returners, the girls that are coming back, they had to learn to play without Creighton Allen. Not necessarily without her, but make up for what maybe they would have thought they were going to get from Creighton Allen, and that made them sort of improve before they thought that maybe they would need to. So now they're starting from a little bit higher up on that ladder, and so I think that it maybe was a blessing in disguise that Creighton was not her normal self last year. And so those returning players who I think are going to have even bigger years this year because of that. Megan Niewohner, how about this? She leads her team in scoring. I think it was North Fayette Valley, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there, but I think that's where she came from. She led the team in scoring, comes over to an already good Sumner Fred team last year. She ends up as the 5th leading scorer, averaging 7.8 points a game. She has a very, very nice shot, a very useful player for the Cougars, no doubt about it. And then you look at Jenna Pagel, an outstanding post player, 7.9 points a game last year, was second on the team, 7.5 rebounds a game last year. 7 and 7 out of not even your best post player is pretty incredible. You'll take that all the time. Every single time you're offered it, you'll take it. And so Jenna Pagel, now a senior, so is Niewohner. You're starting off already on the right foot with those players, and they're going to be taking that next step up. And then Ivy Hirsch, really, really like Ivy Hirsch. Her offensive game is fantastic. 9 points a game last year. She handles the ball. She does it quite well. A leading assister coming back from last year. Was up over 4 assists a game, which is really impressive. She forces steals really, really well. And that's huge for the defense, but also turning that defense into offense almost immediately. So Ivy Hirsch, a heck of a player. She's back, of course, is a senior this year. And a junior this year is the best player for the Cougars in my estimation, and certainly one of the best players in the area, no doubt about it. It's Cassidy Pagel. She's just a junior, as I mentioned. She averaged 16 points per game last year. 16 and 9.6 rebounds a game. She was basically averaging a double-double, and do not be shocked. Do not be shocked if both of those numbers go up this year. She is outstanding. She's great. I would go on record saying she's the best post player in the area. Now, there are a couple other players that obviously would maybe like to have a word about that, but I think at this very moment, I'm giving that title to Cassidy Pagel. I think she's the best post player that is in the area. I mean, 16 points a game, 9.6 rebounds a game as a sophomore. I think those numbers, again, as I mentioned, will go up this year as she turns into a junior. I mean, she's just so efficient. If she can get her free throws up a little bit, maybe that would help a little bit. But 48%, honestly, for high school is not unbelievably bad. It's right, probably middle of the road. But if she can get it up a little bit, that would be huge because she's going to go to the line a lot. She shot 101 free throws last year. She shot 51% from the field. You could even get those numbers up a little bit. Cassidy Pagel is an outstanding player. Very, very excited to get to watch her play once again. She gets to play with her sister Jenna, which is pretty cool. And they do work in the paint. And there may not be, maybe those girls from Wapsie Valley would again want to have a word with me perhaps, but Cassidy and Jenna probably the best post pairing in the area as well. I think they're pretty darn good. And so yeah, I think the Sumner Fredericksburg team is going to be very, very good. Excited to see them play again, and excited to see if there's a younger player that maybe didn't get a whole bunch of chances last year, can maybe etch their name into the lineup with some of those players that we mentioned already. So yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. So where would I rate this team? Where would I put this team in my ratings? Again, a 1 would be a state title contender. A 2 would be a state tournament contender. A 3 is a team that's just looking to win more games than lose and maybe go on a run in postseason play. And a 4 would be a rebuilding team. Well, they are definitely not a 4. They're better than a 3. The question is, are they a top-end 2 in my estimation, or are they just sneaking in bottom end of a number 1? I honestly think they can be that good. I'm going to put them as a 2. I'm going to put them as a 2 conservatively. Top end 2. I think it would be a letdown. I'm going to be just as honest as I possibly can be here. I think it would be a letdown if this Sumner Fredericksburg team did not get to the state tournament. I think, I don't want to say that it would mean that the season was not successful, because that's not what I mean at all. But I just think it would be a letdown, honestly. But for how much talent is on this team, how good of a coach they have, I think state tournament, that's where they want to be. They've got a chance at a title. I think they've got a chance at a title. Now, am I putting them odds-on favorites to win that title? Probably not, but they've got a chance. I think this is a state tournament team. If you are a fan of Sumner Fredericksburg, you're going to enjoy yourself watching these Cougars play. Get out to their games as many as you can. If you can't get out, listen on K-Way. We'll have a number of those games, of course. We'll let you know which ones we are covering. But this is a very, very good squad. I think they've got a real chance to go to the state tournament. So that's going to do it for me here, the Sumner Fredericksburg girls preview. We've got the boys preview coming up in just a little bit. So stick around for that. And until then, my name is Taylor Nitz. Okay, bye.